Pattern of health and wholeness in the system in which we participate, and that brings us forth. And so I ended up calling my PhD Design for Human and Planetary Health. And that was in 2006. And now we've got 2021, and about 5 years ago, the Rockefeller Foundation funded a program with a series of health policy scientists that led to the publication with the Lancet of a report called Planetary Health, and then the formation of something called the Planetary Health Alliance, where medics are calling for the healing of ecosystems in order to heal the planet, precisely because they're realizing the deep connection between planetary health and population health and human health. So when we talk about life design, we in the larger picture talk about how do we fit in to this scale linking pattern, this complex dynamic pattern, which is constantly in motion, that we're not separate from in any way. There is no separation between nature and culture. It's only in our minds. Those are two categories that we employed meta design, narrative and storytelling, to bring forth a world that makes us feel like somehow nature and culture are separate, somehow technology and nature are separate. The reality is it's all part of one large biophysical transforming complex dynamic process. And the mathematical foundations of any complex system is that because of the non-linear causality in these systems, they're fundamentally unpredictable and uncontrollable unless you look just at a very limited spatial or temporal set within these systems. That means our entire proposition of controlling and predicting and manipulating, designing with intention a future, is something that we need to question and put into perspective. Of course, we may need to have intentions, and we need to act on those intentions, and we need to prototype solutions and answers. But I think as a culture, we've paid too much attention to these objects and these outcomes, these designs, and not enough attention to the right questions. We think that questions are transitory means to get better answers and solutions, but really in this constant transforming process, answers and solutions are transitory means to ensure that we ask the right questions. And what we need to ask right now is, as we embark on a life design workshop, is how do I design my life in a way that my participation in this complexity acknowledges, embraces that I can't predict and control the future, but also, which makes us very humble in one way, to realize that even with the biggest data sets and the most advanced AI, we will not predict and control the complexity of planet Earth. We will not create a parallel system that gives us perfect readings on how to behave in the other one. So therefore, we need to embrace uncertainty and act from not knowing humbly at the right scale. And we need to refit our human affairs back into the life-supporting wholeness hierarchy or holarchy, the health-generating nested complexity in which life over 3.8 billion years has made the conditions on this planet more livable than they were before. It has created conditions, as Janine Benyus likes to call it, conditions conducive to life. That's what life does best. And when we embark on a life design workshop, we should say, okay, how do I design my life to create conditions conducive to life? When we talk about regenerative cultures, for me, they're really at the heart of all of us individually and collectively asking, how do we bring forth a community and a bioregion and a way of participating in this ecosystem that is our home, that is the place where we've chosen to manifest the potential of that system as expressions of it, rather than being separate from our regions, really celebrating our co-creative participation in their healing. The biggest design challenge of the 21st century is how do we redesign the human impact and presence on Earth from being degenerative and exploitative to being regenerative and healing. That's our job. That's the rite of passage that we've pushed ourselves towards by being an immature species that for too long has believed that we're somehow separate from the ground of our being, which is the biophysical system that actually brought us forth. And so, yes, on the one hand, we have this humility that comes from understanding complexity properly. But on the other hand, we also have the audacity of understanding that it's not a choice. We can't but shape the future. Every single one of us, every day, every minute, makes choices that because we're participants of this system, we will affect it. And so we change the world every day. The question is, are we changing it consciously? Are we changing it in a way that we humbly try to design for positive emergence? Because in a way, like designing life or designing culture, like the title of my book, Designing Regenerative Cultures, it's a paradox. Both life emerges and culture emerges. They can't be fixed, they can't be controlled. They're about relationships, they're about qualities of interactions, they're about information flows, they're about constant transformation and learning. They're about appropriate participation and not about fixing a state. And I think that's in general, like I spend a lot of time working in the sustainability field, or now the regenerative development field. And what you find a lot, even with the best intended visions of the future, is that we have a view of the future as a place where one day we will arrive and then we can down tools. I think that's how we set ourselves up for failure. If we design for process, for continuous ongoing process of learning, readjustment, of living the questions rather than arguing about answers and solutions as if they were final, accepting that we need to implement solutions and then learn from them. And so, yeah, I think we're at a critical stage. And because you mentioned the word transhumanism and some of the words that I get triggered by, like I feel we need to also really pay attention. I said that technology isn't really separate from nature, but that doesn't mean that most of our technologies currently might not be part of a maladaptive evolutionary experiment that will lead to the extinction of many species and possibly our own if we don't watch out. I personally think right now to waste human ingenuity and effort and resources to explore and try to land on Mars when we haven't proved ourselves to be a true caretaking custodian species on this planet is part of the hubris of having created technology in a place where previously religion promised eternal life and health and happiness forever. Now we seek that in technology. We made it an unconscious religion. And I think as part of this life design, we need to be careful about how we act with technology. On the one hand, it's beautiful that we can be invited into this space by a musician from Argentina and have a real human family from all over the world share this space now. So I'm not anti-technology. I'm just saying, watch out when we talk transhumanism, when we talk artificial intelligence. What would you rather have? A system that is deeply infused by natural intelligence, or that is poorly guided by artificial intelligence? I think I would rather choose the former. And that's the challenge we have as a species right now, to find our ways in the healing of our places. And I think that the bioregional approach of looking at your watershed and looking at redesigning circular biomaterials economies and what design and technology can do at that scale for the healing of your region with your people in your place, but not in a hiding away from the world, but in a full awareness and global collaboration and knowledge exchange that everyone, everywhere engages in this bioregional regeneration. That's how we can heal the human impact on planet Earth. And that's how we can increase planetary health and deal with these issues that we currently see as the big problems, they're rather symptoms of an underlying problem like climate change. The underlying problem is a misconception of who we are, the misconception of life, of not understanding that life is first and foremost a planetary process, and that our role is to align with that process and to create conditions conducive to life. And I'll leave it at that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Daniel, for this. That's exactly the impulse I wanted before we dive deep into the workshop. And I remember in your podcast you mentioning the importance of being in the right relationship or direct relationship with the present moment, because we are always planning for what's next, involved into our projects, and always thinking in the future and about the future. And you mentioned that the only moment that we are creating the future is right now, and it will always be now and now. And if we will really learn to be in the present and fructify this relationship of ourselves with the present, then in the end we could also take decisions and direct our actions towards a better future and co-create a better future.
Absolutely. Thanks for mentioning that. Yeah, the future potential of the present moment, and that relationship between the way we think about time as this linear arrow, rather than something that continuously just evolves the presence in which we are. And I'm sure that I wish I could stay. I already apologized to Sebastian that I have another Spanish webinar to give in a few minutes. But I sense, and I hope I can get a chance to do the workshop that you're all going to do right now. It is not just about what am I going to do, but how do I change my being? Because the real power in the design shift, in appreciating the future potential of the present moment, is to work with our being state, how we are deeply in relationship to self, to community, and to this living process that is life as a planetary living being, Gaia. So thank you so much, everyone, and sorry that I can't join this workshop.
Sure. Yeah, good luck for your next event, and we keep in touch. I will be sending a post-event to everybody, and I will try to play some of your questions, potential answers to some of your questions in the after-event email. So, Daniel, thank you so much, and keep in touch. So now, Herme, please transition us to the second part of the event on some more musical notes. I think we need grounding. Thank you. Thank you. Sebastian, welcome.
Thank you.
So I really don't want to steal any minute from you, because I know that the interactive workshop that you have prepared is going to be super nice. So I really want that you start it right away. So let's see what we are going to co-create here together.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Alina. And also really thank you so much for setting this up. And it's also great to see this crowd and Guy making the music. And also I can relate so to the things Daniel has said. Even starting as a designer, we always start with, we have 2 E's, right? 1 E is for empathy. So being empathetic to the situation on the planet of ourselves. And the other E is experiment. And we will be talking about both of them. But let's also talk about what we said and also what you said, Alina, about being in the immediate future, right? So one thing is we're going to use a tool today that I call Magic Circle. And you can all start your projects in this next hour, start using live design, okay? The other thing is, speaking about the immediate future, we are on Zoom, we are on video, and it can be quite tiring. Do you know why Zoom is tiring? Because we are constantly representing ourselves, our haircut, our background, if it's cool enough or not cool enough. And there's even a study from the Technical University of Berlin that even today we have a slight time delay in Zoom. And because of this, we perceive the other people as less friendly. That's why we have to put on an extra friendliness to appear regular friendly, which can be also very tiring, right? And that's also one of the reasons why I like to have the camera on purpose, but also to switch it off on purpose, okay? So it's great you're having it on right now. I would actually also appreciate if those guys who are still hiding somehow, if you can switch on your cameras. Don't worry, you will not have to do anything. You don't have to say anything. You can still kind of like protect yourselves there in the background. So I appreciate to see you guys, also to see each other. You can now see some cute guys or cute girls, check out the backgrounds of other people's flowers, posters, or whatever. So this is a good way to connect, right? And maybe we can even continue this by you guys writing in the chat where you are right now, okay? So we get an idea of who's meeting here. So just write in the chat the city you're from. I'm just gonna make a start. So I'm based in Zurich right now, and maybe you guys can just write in the places where you are in Germany, around the world. We see Bonn, Stuttgart, Brussels, Munich, Hamburg, oh my God, New Jersey, Luxembourg, a lot of Stuttgart area, even India, oh my God. What time is it in India right now? It must be in the middle of the night, I guess, right? Bangalore, Geneva, okay. Hi from Zurich to Geneva. Egypt, wow, Buenos Aires, of course, we have had that. 2200 something, I don't know what that is. All right, so it's a truly global meetup here, which is awesome. Moldova near Puerto Rico. Chris is in Zurich. Hi, Chris. Maybe we are, and then also somebody representing Bandstown, so that's awesome. So it's really cool to see you guys here and also see where you guys are from. This is important. And we're going to dive straight into life design in a moment. And because this is supposed to be a little bit interactive, right? That's how Alina briefed me as well. I would like you guys to have one sheet or maybe 2-3 sheets of paper available. If you don't have it, you might even want to jump up and get 2-3 pages of paper and a pen as well. I think that could be helpful. And I'm very happy to introduce you to our life design model in the beginning. I can tell you up front, I do have slides and you will see me draw on the slides, okay? And I can tell you already, I will give all my slides to Alina and she will forward them to you, okay? So you don't have to copy that. However, in the first 2-3 slides, I will explain the model. Feel free to copy that stuff, okay? Even if you get the slides tomorrow or next week, feel free to copy this instantly, so you might also make it part of your life. And then also afterwards, we do the magic circle, and then we will hear what kind of projects you have that will bring more of yourself into your futures, okay? Are you ready for that somehow, hopefully? Okay, cool. I can see some thumbs up there, which is awesome. And actually, I would be so happy to kind of like stay connected with you guys, but I'm so sorry. I'm inviting you right now, even though we actually have quite some good energy right now. But anyway, I'm inviting you actually right now to switch off your cameras, because now we should focus more on the content, but then we will also come back to then switch on the cameras again when it's more about interacting and exchanging with each other, okay? So please purposefully put off your cameras. And as you can see here, I do have a few slides. And I would like also to like hopefully draw on them a little bit, okay? As Alina had said, it's gonna be design thinking, positive psychology, and also what we call life loops. And the idea is to bring more of ourselves, more of yourself into your future, right? Could be your immediate future, could also be bigger projects. My name is Sebastian. I'm primarily in St. Gallen, but I'm also at Stellenbosch University in South Africa, and also visiting fellow at Stanford. So those people in India who are awake at night right now, I teach at Stanford from 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. in the morning. I know how this feels. Sometimes I have a hard time to find the right words. So what is life design all about? As Alina has said, it has been established at Stanford University. This is where design thinking has been started. And design thinking was originally used only for organizations to solve their problems. But then around 2012, they also said, let's do this also for our students. And they called this Design Your Life. And it became pretty much the most popular course at Stanford. In 2018, I went there as a scholar from the Swiss National Research Foundation. And I went back to Switzerland, to Europe, said, I want to have that here too. So I founded the Life Design Lab at the University of St. Gallen. In case you want to check it out, feel free to do so. And then after 2.5, 3 years of working with organizations like Nike, the United Nations, Swiss Re, you name it, European Central Bank, I actually turned our work also into a book, which is now available since October in German. So this is the book, in case you want to, I don't know, buy it. Feel free to check it out at lifedesignlab.ch. And we are also in the process of getting it out in English. So hopefully you guys will have it in English too. And I'm glad to say that I couldn't copy and paste it from Stanford. I just couldn't. I wanted, but I couldn't, because in Europe, people wanted to have more scientific backing, and we basically extended the approach by using also a new model and using it also in areas such as design your home office, for example, and also even design your retirement, right? And I'm also working on design your sabbatical, so different areas, right? So this is how it started, and it's the application of design thinking to yourself to design your future. And we also integrated insights from positive psychology that I studied at the University of Zurich, and also of behavioral economics. Let's look into how does this look like. And if you want, on the next slide, you will see a model. If you want, you can also draw the model on the slide and kind of like copy it if you want, because this is the central model of our approach. So if this is your piece of paper, you might want to have just this kind of infinity loop, which is a model in innovation. And I'm going to allocate it into the left part and also into the right part. So whenever we have a vision in our life, I want to do this kind of side project. I want to write a book. I want to do something more with wood. I want to have an impact, whatever it is. We always start to understand it by using empathy. We try to understand what is behind my vision or my challenge, right? I like to do this with a morning routine. And in the morning routine, we basically draw our morning and we see how we feel like, how does our morning look like? When I drink coffee, do I have high energy or low energy? If we have opened up with empathy, we cannot change everything at the same time. This is why we have to focus afterwards. So in the morning routine, for example, I ask my participants, focus on one thing in the morning that you maybe don't like, right? And if you focus on this, we usually turn this into something called a problem statement. And the problem statement always starts with 3 words, which is, how might I? Okay? Feel free to copy this. How might I have an impact in my city? How might I do more sports during quarantine? How might I get more fresh out of bed, etc., right? So we empathize, we focus, then we use inspiration. And in the inspiration, I like to call it the core of creativity, because you really have to understand in creativity, we distinguish 2 phases. One is diverging, and the other one is converging. One is about creating ideas, so you have many ideas, but then you also have to select ideas in order to do them, right? So that's diverging thinking, creating options. So this is about creating options. And then this is about selecting. Even beyond life designing creativity, if you want to do stuff, diverge first and then converge. And don't necessarily do it at the same time, okay? The worst things in organizations is if somebody says, well, we can do it this way, and somebody says, no, it doesn't work, right? So you diverge, we can do this way, and somebody said, no, we can't. This is not productive, not creative. So distinguish diverging and converging, okay? When you have created ideas, let's say, for example, I had somebody in my morning routine, she said, in the empathy, she said, oh, I want to get less distracted from my phone, right? And then the focus said, how might I get less distracted with my phone in the morning? And then there was all the ideas. You can throw your phone and put it in the fridge. You can hide it from yourself, etc. Some feasible, some crazy ideas. One idea actually was that she said, I can put my phone in the mailbox outside and then be all evening, all night, all morning without the phone, and then only pick it up in the morning. That was before Corona. Remember those days when there was no Corona? People would leave the house in the morning to go to work, right? So that was one of the ideas she thought about. Then we're going to transition over, and I'm going to talk about more about this transition in a moment. And then we come to this notion of prototyping. Prototyping, or I also can call this experimenting, right? And experimenting means basically doing it, right? And with the morning routine, for example, we say, just do it one time. Just do it one time, and then we combine it actually with 6 and 7. Sorry, don't want to make too many roller coaster rides here. We combine it with 6 and 7, and we apply something. So we say do it one time, and then also apply something that's called the growth mindset, okay? The growth mindset. We're from a Stanford professor, Carol Dweck. And this is especially compared to something from a fixed mindset, okay? Because in a fixed mindset, whenever you try something new, you would only ask, am I winning or am I losing? And this certain kind of either or thinking is not really helpful. It's setting the wrong expectations. Instead, ask yourself, growth mindset, and the question is, what can I learn here? Okay, what can I learn here? So when you prototype and you try to learn from this, it's always about doing it one time and see what you can learn from this, okay? Now apply it back to the morning routine. So this girl said, I want to have the phone in my mailbox outside, spend all evening, all night, all morning without the phone, and then I will pick it up again. And people are like, oh my God, this is crazy. Okay, but you don't have to do it from tomorrow for the rest of your life. Just do it one time and see what happens, right? And so she did. And was a class at Stanford. And so we came back together again and we said, so instead of saying, was it good or bad? We said, what did you learn? And she said, well, the first thing I learned is I don't have a clock in my house. I couldn't read the time. I would always use my phone to look at the time. Ah, interesting. So what now? And she said, well, because I had my phone looking at the time, I just saw my notification, WhatsApp, TikTok, etc. So I was more likely to be distracted. And what was the results? She even bought an analog watch and said, now the pickup times of my phone, and iPhone even helps you to kind of organize this, has been significantly reduced, right? So you see how with life design, you be empathetic with your morning. You cannot change everything. That's just the beginner mindset. You can just focus on one thing, right? Then so that was being empathetic, focus on one thing, and then use creativity to get ideas. Get the stuff, I was about to say shit, but I shouldn't do this. Get this stuff done, and then get feedback and learn from this, right? And then hopefully you can continue your journey, okay? I hope this makes sense. And this is the core of the model. And if I would have to summarize this, I would probably say we always try to understand with each challenge or vision we have, we always try to understand what is behind it on the left-hand side. And then here we try to run low-risk experiments, okay? Running low-risk experiments. These are the two things that are very essential here, learning low-risk experiments. And this is kind of like empathy. That's why I said earlier, empathy and experiment is the two cornerstones of that. Now, but you've also seen this one here, overcoming, and also continuity. These are the two crucial steps, for example, that are not represented in the Stanford model, for example. But they are very crucial. Why? Because they address something that's called knowing, doing, gap. I know what I have to do, but I'm actually not doing it, right? There is a gap here. And the question is, how can we overcome this gap? So if everything runs perfectly, that's great. But sometimes, I don't know if you have had this. I hope you do, because otherwise you wouldn't be human. Maybe I've had this, that you had an idea. I know what I have to do, but I'm not doing it, right? And this is why the overcoming and the continuity, they are really central in overcoming that knowing doing gap. And you will find in the book particular methods. One, for example, is be the DJ of your inner sound and kind of like draw yourself as a Michelin person. And then you map your inner voices. And then as a DJ with your equalizer, you try to actually create an inner sound that is less self-destructive and is more pushing you to get shit done, okay? Just in a nutshell, okay? I hope this makes sense. If not, I forgot to say this, if you have questions, you can write them in the chat or ask them at the end if you'd like to do this. So I hope this makes sense. And the important thing about this infinity model here is that it's infinite, I guess, right? And the funny thing about this is, if you start to apply this model in a small way with your morning routine, and you kind of like finish your first loop, this is where you build self-efficacy, okay? This is where you build self-efficacy. And self-efficacy is, basically you see the results of your doing, you see the results of your action. And if you start with a small loop, then you build bigger loops and you build more self-efficacy, and then you take it from your morning routine into bigger portions of your life, like your career or private projects, etc. Right? And I had one student also at Stanford, he actually said, I want to eat more healthy. And then one of the things he said, I want to make myself a fruit salad. And he did, and we asked, what did you learn? He said, fruit was great, cutting it was awful because it took too much time and was draining. And so he finished his first loop and he said, how might you make the cutting more fun or less exhausting? And then he ended up basically trying to find somebody else to cut it for him, but nobody wanted. Then he bought pre-cut food, but it was not fresh, it was too expensive. He cut it the night before. He said, it's okay, but still every day it sucks. And now he's actually cutting it on Sunday night for the rest of the week. And as a byproduct, he learned that berries are cool because you don't have to cut them, right? So you see how you can have multiple learning loops and bringing more of yourself into your life. I hope this makes sense. This is really the corner piece of our book and of our approach, together with one second thing, which is the 8 life design principles that I would just touch upon briefly because I want to also get started with you guys to do something, okay? Unfortunately, they're not beautiful yet because in English, I don't have the figures yet, but I hope you don't mind. It's not as beautiful as this one, but it hopefully will be soon. Now we have this life loops model. Left-hand side, understand what it's all about. Right-hand side, creating a small low-risk prototype and then learn from this, right? So this is the 2 corner pieces. And this model is surrounded by 8 life design principles, so to say. Okay. The first principle is from skepticism to curiosity and appreciation. And again, feel free to copy this if you want to have a second piece of paper outside. What does that mean? It means that at any age in your life, if you have an idea, that hopefully people are not saying, really, you, this idea in your age, are you for real? And instead, people are going to say 3 magic words: tell me more. Okay. I even get goosebumps now because every time I run these workshops, even with senior executives, I'm running a leadership program for the Swiss Stock Exchange. If somebody says, oh, you know, I want to work more with wood or whatever, people are not like, really, you wood? You're an IT expert. What do you want to do with wood? People are like, tell me more about this. What is it, right? That's another question you can ask yourself. What is it? What is it? What is it? Question mark. What is it that makes that thing so interesting for you, right? And now I'm running life design also for lots of organizations for diversity and inclusion, and curiosity and appreciation, even of other people's views, is at the heart of that, okay? So that's our first one. Second one, moving from dichotomous thinking to differentiated thinking. We have done this already a little bit. Dichotomous thinking means either or thinking, okay? So I'm just ending up in thinking, either I do this or I don't. Either I quit or I stay. Either I'm going to make a startup or I'm not, right? While if we say, what is it and what is behind it? So if we use empathy and we ask what is behind it, we end up having more options. And this is when we are more differentiated or also multi-optional. I was just running a workshop with the United Nations, and one guy said, we were in ideation, and he said, oh, I wish in the afternoon I could just be myself on the ski slope, ski for 20 minutes, and then come back. Well, first thing we can say, really, this is not possible. And then he will end up being his either or thinking. He's like, should I do the skiing or not? It seems impossible. Let's find out what is behind the skiing, right? And he really realized, he really said, oh, I want to separate myself from my home office. Okay, separation. I want to have fun. Whoa, okay, that makes sense. And I want to go outside. Okay, cool. So we understand what is behind it, right? And because we understand what is behind it, we can create ideas how you can separate yourself, but not with skiing, but with something else, right? And this is how we think, this is how we're not caught up by skiing or not skiing. This is how we say multi-options, right? You can also install your small basketball thing like I have it in order to have fun, okay? So that's really core for life design, but I think also life in general. Third one is move from assumptions to experiences, especially as a decision support, okay? Especially as a decision support. The worst thing you can do is base decisions on assumptions. Oh, I feel like having my own bed and breakfast could be nice, right? Because oftentimes we are romanticizing it. I had a student in my class and she wanted to become a flight attendant. And one of my team members in my life design lab, she's a former flight attendant. And so I just brought her in, and then they could ask her and said, how was it to be a flight attendant? And then she said, well, yes, you fly to Sao Paulo. Yes, you have 2-3 days, your hotel is paid, you can go shopping and then you fly back. That's great. But to be honest, it sucks to be 12 hours on the airplane. You have also different time zones. The air quality is very bad. And then she said, but to be honest, the more practical stuff that really sucks is you are very badly paid and you only get every 6 weeks a weekend off. So your social life is destroyed. Okay, right? So experiences, or let's say at least a conversation about somebody who has had this experience or is having the experience, right? Number 4, unfortunately in the media, changes in life are portrayed sometimes as in, she used to be a successful lawyer at Wall Street, and now she runs her own bed and breakfast in the south of Italy and has 4 kids, 3 dogs, 2 husbands, and whatever, right? This is just not real, right? And changes don't have to be heroic and drastic. Oftentimes they are heroic and drastic because people have suffered already for some years. But I'm asking you to run low-risk prototypes. A friend of mine wanted to become a full-time yoga teacher, and I said to her, before you quit your job, let's understand, tell me more about why you want to become a yoga teacher. what is it about you wanting to become a yoga teacher, and how can we create a low risk experience? And she ended up organizing on a Sunday yoga for friends in a studio that she rented for an hour. And she had a private Facebook group with 15, 20 people. And she just organized it. And afterwards I asked her, okay, now that you did it one time, what did you learn? And she said, well, I don't want to become a full-time yoga teacher. I was romanticizing it. It was just energy management, time management, preparation. I even had to do sales to at least pay for the room. And she ended up now teaching in a studio where she's teaching once a week. And now she says, oh, most of the things is organized, so that's fine. And then she says, but I still missed something. It was yoga for friends. So I missed the community aspect. So now she's running once a week for everyone in the studio, and once a month on a Sunday with friends and blue wine and drinks. That was the reason also why I participated, to be honest, right? So go for low risk. And of course, with everything, we try to not overthink it. We try to move to action. That's why we employ the life loops model. And as you've seen already before, we're moving away from the fixed mindset, which is only about winning and losing, to a growth mindset, which is only about what can we learn, right? So what can I learn here, or what can we learn here, right? And then the last two from one-off, it was funny when I brought this concept to Switzerland, people were like, oh yeah, this is for the students, you know, they have to figure this out once, what they want, and then they can just take it from there. And I'm like, yeah, right. No, it goes in iterations, right? Or again, our life loops model, this is going to continuously. And some people are like, but isn't that too much of self-optimization? I'm like, well, it can be, but just do life design for the things that are bothering you. Don't try to optimize all your life, even though some people like to do that, right? I had a consultant from Boston Consulting Group, and she said, I want to go running in the morning at 5. And she was never doing it. And then we ended up having some crazy ideas. And we said, why don't you go to bed with your running clothes on, and you can run straight out of bed? And guess what? She did one time. She loved it. And now she's doing it 3 times a week. That's fine, right? And then the last one, from solo project to team sport. Okay. And this, I think, and today we're just going to do a teaser, right? But in my workshop, I can just say, this is the best thing ever. I have sometimes people coming to a workshop saying they have read all the life design books that exist, or books about positive psychology. They've even done all the exercises, but they don't implement any of this, because you have to really move from a solo project to a team sport. When I did the life design workshop myself, and I did this 2 times, one in Zurich, one in Stanford, I did one exercise that's very cool. I call this future scenarios. And your first future scenario is the next 5 years, how you think is going to work out. The second future scenario is, what if the job you have done before doesn't pay anymore? You have to find something else, which unfortunately is reality for some people in Corona times. And the third one is, what would you do if money and status doesn't matter, right? My third plan was full of hip hop, believe it or not. And my team, instead of saying, oh, why are you doing hip hop? They said, this is cool. Tell me more about this. I'm like, okay, I don't know. What is this all about? And my team helped me to understand that behind hip hop was, because I said hip hop is breakdance, graffiti, and rap. So we said, okay, so this is more about creative expression. All right, okay. What do you do with creative expression? I said, well, to be honest, if you put it in one word, it's about playfulness. Oh, okay, okay. And then we said, and we're going to do the magic circle now. And then they said, okay, playfulness is your vision. What is behind playfulness, and how can you bring more playfulness into your life, right? And I ended up, you can laugh at me now if you want, but I ended up wearing a t-shirt when I was lecturing, and sneakers, because at St. Gallen Business School, I always had to wear properly. And it was funny because I did it one time, actually my first lecture in the semester. And then people asked me, what did you learn? And I learned that I went into the classroom and people said, oh, you're also in the class? I'm like, no, I'm giving the class. Oh, okay. I didn't expect the professor to wear a t-shirt. Okay. So you see, and the team can help you in figuring out what it's all about. They can help you with ideation, and they also push you to move over that knowing doing gap, right? That's why I can recommend, if some of you guys, you see some nice people here, find be it 2, 3, or maximum 4 people. I probably say 3 or 4 people. You can buy the book, do the exercises together, and build a life design squad. or as I call it, I have still with my team members in Zurich something called Life Design Side Hustle. So we have a WhatsApp group and we meet every other week. And so that's something I can really recommend. Okay, that's the second part. Now we should move to practice, but I hope this makes sense. So the life loops model and the principles are really the cornerstone of the life design approach. And then finally, before we're going to move on, just some impact we have seen. If people attend our workshops, they significantly reduce their career anxiety, they increase their hope for the future, even intentional self-regulation, develop more thankfulness and gratitude. And then this one is the best, agency, which means having responsibility, putting yourself from the driver's seat, from the passenger seat into the driver's seat, and being proactive about this, okay? And my most favorite result we just did now is we realized that people who attend life design workshops can significantly increase their psychological capital, okay? Psychological capital, and that consists of self-efficacy, hope, optimism, and also resilience, okay? And these four factors together are supposed to also make people better perform at their jobs, be more satisfied with their jobs, and have more commitment towards their organization. So this is a very, very cool finding also with regards to Corona, but also in Germany. All right, I think with that, we're ready to get started, okay? In case you guys are taking note, that psychological capital consisting of self-efficacy, hope, optimism, and resilience, and this is increasing performance, satisfaction, and also commitment to the organization, which I'm very happy for that we were able to show this. Now let's do the magic circle, but let me try to understand. So let's imagine you could do any kind of side project, job, hobby, and you wanted more of this into your life. What are you thinking of? And maybe we can even capture this together. And if I may, I would just do that Menti here. And maybe you can just take a moment and think about what kind of job would you like to do? Or what kind of side project? Or what kind of hobby? It could be something very concrete, like writing a book, but it can also be something fuzzy, like, I don't know, working with wood or having an impact. I don't know yet. That's fine, okay? Just take the moment and either put in menti.com in that code, or you can also, of course, use the QR code on the right-hand side, and you should be able to put 1, 2, or up to 3 things. And feel free to dream wildly here. So what are the things you would like to bring into your future that give you meaningfulness, fulfillment, maybe also inspired to what Daniel said earlier? We're just collecting, okay? And afterwards you can pick one and then we turn this into reality, okay? I hope this makes sense. I hope this is clear. Imagine you could put in, there's something coming in from the chat. Oh yeah, thank you, Sabrina, for putting in the code for those who would like to just copy and paste it. Puerto Rico is also in the house, Egypt, wow. Ludwigsburg, Weiblingen, great. So let's see what kind of a job or side project or hobby you would like to integrate. Some of you have done this already, but we will wait a little bit more. It's also, by the way, something that if I would show the results too early, that's called also contamination creativity. So if you do these mentees, don't show the results too early, because people are socially biased. They usually end up copying, pasting. Even if they don't want to, they do. Excuse me. So that's why I would recommend that you cover this a little bit until you maybe have maybe a third or half of the people that have responded. All right, yeah, we can. Oh man, this is a lot. This is great. Just continue, guys. I will. Somebody even made a symbol in it. That's awesome. Please continue, guys. I will copy and paste the final clouds into the slides. And so you will have them in the documentation, okay? Oh, somebody wants to be a clown. That's awesome. Somebody wants to write a book. Somebody wants to learn Hindi. Somebody wants to be an innovation consultant. Platform for expats. Learn the piano. Become a design freelancer. Culture and hiking guide. That's awesome. Coaching, helping people. All right. Writing a book again. Okay, I will take the example of writing a book. Now, I'm going to show you a method now that I call Magic Circle. And I'm going to do this with you using an example. I'm going to use writing a book, okay? You can use it with any concrete idea or also any fuzzy idea, like even working with wood or doing something with people, right? And I would like you now that you're going to pick one, okay, just for now. Don't take it too serious. Just pick one where you just think of it, you get a big smile on your face, be like, oh, what would actually be cool of how I can get this stuff started, how I can move myself towards this, okay? If you're still writing, please keep writing because the cloud is gonna evolve in the background. But I would like you to get out a sheet of paper, okay? So we can do this together. Please get out a sheet of paper because now we're gonna do the magic circle together, okay? And put this paper in a landscape format. You don't have to draw this yet, okay? I'm just pretending to have a paper here as well. And we're gonna call this the magic circle, because the magic circle brings the entire life loops model onto one page, okay? Now in the middle, you can make a circle, and I would like you to write in that middle part your vision, your idea, okay? What is your idea? What's the thing you would like to do? What's your vision? What's your wish? What's something you would like to do? I'm just gonna put in here, writing a book, okay? And you can put in anything you like. Maybe something from the cloud, maybe something else. That's one. For organization purposes, I'm going to draw the next two, but I'm just going to start with one. So we're going to have this one here. And then we're going to have like a third circle that even goes beyond the edges, okay? So now we have the idea. This is also what it's called, the design challenge. We want to make this happen, writing the book, right? Now, yeah, somebody's no. Now we're going to start with the left part of that loop. And the question is, what is behind, right? What is behind that idea, that vision? Or in other words, why do you want to do this? Okay. I'm going to do this now for this example. And if you want, well, at the same time, you can also do this for yourself, okay? So writing a book, or you might also just listen to the example first, and then I give you time to write it down for yourself, okay? So I had this actually in my workshop, and somebody said, writing a book, okay, because honestly, and you can be honest, I just want to have my name on the cover, okay? My name on the cover, okay? Okay, cool. And I also want to create awareness for a topic that I care for, right? Topic that I care for. Then what else? She also said, oh, I'm really in love with the aesthetics of a book. Aesthetics of a book. What else did she say? Oh, she also said, I finally want to see the physical evidence of my brain work. And not just only work, physical evidence of brain work. And not just create words and PowerPoints, okay? So please take a moment and write down, and you can be very honest with yourself, okay? Write down, why do you want to do this? What is behind this? What is driving you? What is making this idea or wish so cool or sucking you in a way, okay? What is behind it? And please be honest to yourself, okay? Having the name on the cover is nothing bad, right? If that's what you want, that's fine. What is behind it? What is behind wanting to be a clown? What is behind wanting to have more music in your life? Why do you want to do this? Thanks, Tobias. Some of you are more the minimalist, so they have maybe just 2 or 3, but that's fine. I shouldn't say just. I say you have 2 or 3. Some are more broad. Maybe you have 10 or 12 things. In either way, that's fine. Okay, just do as you like. Cool. I'm glad you guys appreciate this. All right. So now, as a life designer, we know now, at least in a small way, right? We know a little bit. Okay, what is behind it? Now, as a next step, as a life designer, we try to bring that idea or an alternative, we will see this in a moment. How can we bring this into a life starting tonight or tomorrow? Okay, that's why number 3. So basically this year was, so number 1 is kind of like the overarching design challenge. Number 2 is what is behind it. And then number 3 is the experiments, right? What kinds of, sorry, I need to zoom in here a bit more so you can also see it better. And I hopefully can draw a little bit more clear. What kind of experiments / conversations could I run? Okay. And ideally being low risk. And low risk in terms of time, in terms of money, and in terms of emotions. Okay. And when you write this down, I'm going to give you some examples, okay? Then you have time to do this for yourself. When you're going to write this down, you might end up with 2 options. Well, more than that, I guess. But one is you're creating a mini version of your original idea, okay? A mini version of your original idea. I will talk about this in a moment, like a mini version of writing a book, for example. Or you might also create alternatives to your vision, right? To your original vision. Sorry, my handwriting is so bad, but I'm going to say it again so you can. So either it's a mini version of your original idea, or it's alternatives to your original idea, which is also the notion of thinking multi-optionally, right? So we're not ending up writing a book or not writing a book, but we might also have alternatives to this, okay? I'm going to say it one more time. What kind of experiments, conversations could I run? Low risk in regards to time, money, and emotions. And then either you end up with a mini version of your original idea, or you end up with alternatives to your original vision. Okay. Let me show you this with an example. Okay. So you can look at the things, what is behind it. So let's say I'm going to look into my name on the cover. Now I can think for myself, what is the smaller way than just writing a big book? Because people might be like, oh, with a book, I have to pitch it, I have to go to a publisher, I have to pay money, I have to know people. And this is why they don't do it. And sometimes they would think about this for all their life and they never do it. So a smaller version of this could be writing a mini zine, right? Could be writing a mini zine. And I even have one here. I hope you can see this. This is a mini zine where you have a cover, you have a double page here, a double page here, a double page here, and you have the rest, right? And you can create this from one A4 paper. If you're interested in this, you can Google it, or you find also the description in our book because I wrote a chapter on why working with hands helps us to design our lives. So you can create a mini zine, right? You can also say, and you can put your name on the cover, right? You can also go to medium.com and write a blog post, right? That's an alternative. If you want to have awareness for your topic, you can basically also create a big poster and walk around your city, right? You can create a podcast. You can arrange to talk with friends about it, right? Make a circle of friends, and you talk about it, right? Or the aesthetics of the book. This becomes interesting now. So the aesthetics of the book. Well, you can also just browse through a bookstore. And just appreciate the covers of a book, right? Or you can go into a bookbinding workshop because you like the smell and the thing about the book. Something coming in the chat. Yeah, you can talk about it on Clubhouse, right? Somebody said Clubhouse. So if you want to have more awareness, you can go to Clubhouse, talk about it, or listen to other people, right? If you want to create the physical evidence of your brain work, you can also make a collage, right? Or whatever else you might be thinking of, okay? I hope you see that those ideas for experiments, or you can, yeah, you know what, you can also, let me put this here, so I also have it here. You can talk with an author, how satisfying it is to see the book and see the name on the cover, maybe, right? That's something you can do. So I hope you can see that within the circle number 3 here, that these are experiments that either are the small way of writing a book, like the mini zine or the medium.com, or as alternatives, even making a podcast, poster, etc. Okay, I hope this makes sense. And I would deliberately invite you now to take a good 2-3 minutes to create those ideas for yourself, okay? And remember, diverging, converging. We are diverging now, so don't criticize yourself. If you think, oh, this is boring, we have seen this before, nobody likes this, don't be that person, okay? Be the person that is yes and, not yes but. Be the yes and person, and just write it down as it comes out. My students at Stanford call this also the brain dump, okay? Do a brain dump, just dump anything from your brain in this circle number 3. And then we will later on, or you will later on, choose anyway from a bigger set of ideas. Thank you, Nicole, and also Anastasia and Tobias for your instant feedbacks. So please take 2-3 minutes to think about, how can I start to move myself towards this thing, and running a small experiment, small conversation, small way of making it happen. Thank you guys for sharing your feedback. Sometimes your experiments cover one of the things behind it, but sometimes they cover also more of them, okay? So you don't have to perfectly allocate your experiments to your reasons behind it. It's just an example. Yeah, Katarina's asking, what if this leads to new goals? This is perfect life design at play here. So if you put a goal in the middle and you are in the process of finding out what is behind it, or even when you make experiments and you realize, well, it's actually not really that, it's something different. That's perfect, because this is the loop in practice. So if this creates a new idea and the one you're currently working on is not cool anymore, just delete it, or like put it on the side and start a new magic circle with that new goal, right? And so, for example, one of the weirdest but also coolest examples I had was one guy, he said, I wanted to ride horses. And when I was writing down why I wanted to ride horses and actually started to ride the horses, I realized that I wanted to write a book. I know this sounds weird, but you can see it in the book called Glimmer, which I really love. And he said, if I wouldn't have started to ride the horse, I would have never known that I want to write a book, right? So some initial ideas also lead to other things, but you don't get there if you don't start with something that's on your mind. Cool. I'm glad to see you guys appreciating it. Yes, putting the why, Francisca says, putting the why in the center of everything, of course. That's also, it's actually more like an iterative process. You have an idea, you ask yourself why, that brings you back to maybe another idea. So it's all iteration, nothing is fixed in that sense. Okay, let's take a final minute here on creating those ideas for prototypes and experiments or conversations, right? See if on LinkedIn, somebody you know, not know, through friends of friends, you have somebody you can talk about with that has done this. You know, so I even have people, they prototype lifestyles and they say, I want to talk to somebody who's a mom and an entrepreneur at the same time. Okay, cool. Well, let's find somebody on LinkedIn or somewhere else and have a conversation to replace your assumptions with some more concrete experiences. All right. So I hope you guys had a chance to write down your idea, what is behind it, and also ideas for prototypes. I'm going to come back to that question, Francisca, in a moment. And so in the beginning, I only had those 3 circles, and it was nice. But I saw people ending up actually not doing really things, okay? And this is how I ended up using those corners here that I call this a number 4, and these are the bonus corners, okay? The bonus corners. One is, or 2 of them are, what could you do here and now, just after the workshop finishes, okay? What could you do? And then you can put the top left and the top right to do this. So that's your bonus. What can you do here and now to get this thing started? Can you email somebody, etc.? And then the last one here is, what can you do? Oops. What can you do also as a bonus within the next 24 hours? Okay. What is it you can do in the next 24 hours? Because we also see that if you don't necessarily start with a small step, you're more likely to not do anything about this. Okay. So you can either now just spend another minute or so, either just take some of the things, for example, writing a mini zine, that's something you can do in the here and now, right? You can start with the mini zine straight after the workshop, right? So you either copy and paste something, or now that you see it, you're like, ah, shit, okay, what can I do right now? Maybe I can email a person to invite them for a conversation, right? Or I had once a guy and he said, in the middle, he said, I want to travel the world. And what is behind it? He said, okay, meet new people, adventure, but he also said being afraid to be by myself. And then we have prototypes, so you can spend a weekend, right? If you don't have to travel the world immediately, you can spend a weekend, but a weekend is still high risk in terms of time and money and stuff. And so we ended up saying, well, somebody said in the class, just go for dinner tonight by yourself and see how that goes, right? So that could be something you can do in the next 24 hours, going to dinner by yourself, right? Or when I taught this at the African Doctor Academy, I had a very, I think 62-year-old PhD student, which was so cute. And she said, I want to skydive, and skydiving was in the middle. And then we ended up having these ideas, and he said, what can we do right now? And she said, well, I can jump from the table, right? So she ended up jumping from the table, and you should have seen her eyes jumping from the table. She said, thank you, because I put my skydiving dream into reality in a small way, but I did it, right? And that was really awesome. So think for a moment, looking at your ideas, how can you make them even smaller? Yeah, and make them even more doable. Yeah, Francisca's asking if low risk is also having the risk that you're limiting yourself too much. I wouldn't think so, because you're more likely to actually get small things done. Oftentimes people have bold things, but they never happen. Okay. The only other thing I can think of is if you want to have bold experiments, is to create a social support network, for example, understand who are the people I can use that support me in being bold, right? That's something you can think of. But usually it's better to think more in low risk, because if you're on low risk, you create that first small experiment and learn from it. And then from that, you build your self-efficacy, your optimism, your resilience, and then you take it to bolder levels of experiments. Okay. All right, I hope this makes sense. Cool. Yeah, Jill, Jill is asking if you are getting addicted to experiments, not wanting them to commit. Believe me, for a few people, they like to experiment and not do the real thing, then you can help them to overcome the knowing doing gap. That will be a more individual session. But generally, from the experiences of experiments, you create that self-efficacy and that willpower to actually get going and go further, right? What about increasing the risk degree on each iteration? Yeah, that's something you can do. Alejandro is saying you can increase the risk degree. Yeah, that's something you could be doing as you move on. But this happens automatically, I tell you, like, because you will, that's why you have to get started with small, low risk, and then you will automatically increase your risk because you build the self-efficacy. That's something you cannot talk about, you have to experience, I guess. Okay, cool. Now let's also get an idea, before we guys going to finish, let's get an idea of where you are, okay? And since we're quite some people, let's do another Menti, and let's see on what topics did you actually do your magic circle, okay? I've seen already somebody put it already in. So what was in your middle, okay? Maybe you can put that one thing that was in the middle onto that Menti, so we have an idea of how this looks like. So maybe you can take a moment for that. Just put your thing in the middle, whether it was something concrete like writing a book, or was something more fuzzy. Or if you change it over the course, you can also put in both or just one of them. That's the beauty of life design. We stay in iteration. So you can write some of these down. Okay, now you guys are a bit quicker than before because probably the window was already open. Retreat center in nature, innovation consulting. Okay, so teach Shibari. That's beautiful. Be happy. Start a clown club. How cool is that? Connecting to scientists. Finished PhD. Oh man, I can sing a song about that. Change making for all. Becoming a clown. Is there two people? Oh, maybe it was one thing leading to the other. Wood turner coach. Okay, cool. Evaluating value of data. Writing a book. Okay, some people took it over, which is great. All right, and let's move to the last one, the last Menti. If you're still writing, keep writing. The last Menti will be about, so what is a concrete prototype you're doing now? What is on your list for doing it maybe even straight after the workshop, doing it in the next 24 hours? So what kind of prototypes are you going to do? Are you creating a mini zine, talking to somebody? What is it that you guys are going to do to bring that idea of the clown club, the innovation consultant, the retreat? What is your next step? What are you going to start tonight, tomorrow, in order to move yourself towards this dream, towards this vision? What is the low risk prototype that you guys are doing? Some of you guys have already started. Let's see what happens. Message an expert, even start an Instagram account, play flight simulator, join a hiking club. sign up to Duolingo Hindi, connecting to scientists online. Take a pen. Yeah, you know, it starts really simple. Walk to work. Open a book. Walk to the grocery store. Crowdsourcing. Advertise my offer. Writing 1 hour daily. Dress how I want to. Yeah. High five on that. Even though today I'm a bad example, but every day I work with a t-shirt is a better day for me. All right. You can keep writing in this. As I told you, you will get the slides. It just brings me to my very last slide, and I would also like to connect this back to what Daniel said earlier. This is really also about how you want to shape the future. So I really hope that you guys benefited from it. And I'm going to come to my last slide. And I was also thinking of how I could contribute to the future. That's why I came up with Corona special workshops. So I'm running live design workshops for free for people who have lost their jobs because of Corona, okay? So if you have, or if you know somebody who has lost their job because of Corona, just have them go on the Live Design Lab website, and we will announce, if they sign up for the newsletter, we will announce future workshops on live design for free, really helping people to manage their future. If you want to be in touch, feel free to connect on LinkedIn or even on Instagram if you like. I'm kind of posting there on a more or less regular basis. Like one of my last posts was about the Radical Sabbatical, which is a very cool book that I can recommend for great inspiration for prototyping. And you will also get these slides, so you might also want to email me or check out the book if you like. As I said, it's available now in German, but it will also hopefully be available in English in the near future. All right, with this, I would actually invite you guys to finally switch on your cameras, if you don't mind, switching on your cameras. So at least we get to see each other a little bit. And I hope, Alina, that the session was okay, in line with your Hey Future idea and vision. And I hope you guys, despite the short time, were able to take something away for your lives and for your future, whether this was the loops model or the 8 principles, or then also using the magic circle for your future projects. It has been a real pleasure for me, despite maybe not hearing too many of you at this stage, but hopefully really staying in touch. So feel free to really connect on LinkedIn or Insta, or even email me if you like. And I don't want to sound sarcastic, but I wish you a good rest of your lives, okay? Take good care of yourself, build a future for yourselves, and also in line with the planet, talking to what Daniel said earlier. And all the best. Have a good night. And thank you, Alina, for having me tonight.
Thank you so much for being with us, Sebastian. And I'm certainly super motivated to continue the conversation. And to everybody, I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, and you took valuable learnings with you today. And keep sharing. If you are implementing something from what you came up with this evening, let us know also on LinkedIn, or just write a message. This would certainly make us feel very good, and maybe this is also a way to commit to yourself by keeping updating us on your successes. And the next Hey Future event will take place probably in 2 months. It takes time, it takes a lot of thoughtfulness. I'm really striving for quality, and I invest some time to curate and to think what topics I could combine together so that it makes sense. And that's why be patient and stay tuned for next events. And also I want to announce that I will include a little nominal fee for the events, because I want to support with the sum I will be gaining some social projects, and I'm searching now for some. I'm interested in educational programs that are run by nonprofit organizations. And if you know any, just drop me a line. Tomorrow I will send you an after event email with more details, also what Sebastian will share with us, and also from Daniel I will gather some. And there you will get also my contacts, and feel free to reach out to me if you have any recommendations on where could we contribute all together to which project by also coming together and learning in a hopefully a bit more interesting, inclusive formats. So thanks a lot. Have a great evening and take care of yourself, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks for the great session.
Thank you. Bye,
Thank
guys.
you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Jakub.
Bye.